I'm not saying that your husband should slap you down, but if your husband slaps you down and you call the cops, you're evil.
If your husband slaps you down and you call the cops, you the wife that they slap, and you call the cops, you're evil. You call the cops because your husband slapped you down, you're evil. Aside from that, he went ahead to talk about if your husband is a drunk, if he's a this, if he's a that, is your husband, you have to stay in the relationship regardless. You guys, sometimes when I hear some pastors preach, in fact, there's some trend recently when it comes to pastors now. They now talk more on relationship. I don't know, maybe because I'm on the relationship aspect when it comes to TikTok. So I get to see a lot of relationship conversations on my For You page. So when it comes to pastors preaching, this particular pastor that was talking about raping and molesting and all of that, he was saying it openly to his congregation that if you have been raped before, if you have been assaulted before, you have been essayed, you have been molested, it is wrong for you to open your mouth and start talking about it, or go and tell people, or come out and confess and start saying this person raped you, this person did this. What you're supposed to do is keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself and probably go to therapy. You that they raped, go to therapy. See, you cannot tell me that pastor is not a rapist. Just as this man came now to say, if your husband slaps you down and you call the cops, you're evil. Definitely, he slaps his wife. There's no two ways about it. Like, you can't tell me he doesn't slap his wife, doesn't beat his wife, and probably his wife has called the cops on him before, and now he blamed the wife for calling the cops on him. You guys, I have a reaction on this video. Let me go ahead and write some clips for y'all to watch, then we'll come back and discuss.
I'm not saying that your husband should slap you down, but if your husband slaps you down and you call the cops, you're evil.
So this is Pastor Steve Anderson, who has a very popular belief within Christian fundamentalism that a woman should not call the cops on her husband, even if he's abusing her. She should not divorce him if he's abusing her. And this is John Anderson, Steve Anderson's son, talking about the first time he remembers his father beating his mother.
And I remember it was Easter Sunday, and we were all standing out in the front yard dressed up, and I could hear it happening for the first time.
And again, this is very popular in Christian fundamentalism and Christian nationalism. So they rely heavily on the Old Testament, which only allowed for a man to get divorced and could get divorced for any reason, leaving the woman impoverished most of the time. It was Jesus who changed the parameters of divorce to protect women. But Christian fundamentalists at a core level do not believe a woman should be able to vote. They believe her husband should vote for her. They do not believe a woman should be hell-bent on pursuing education, because they believe a woman should get married young, have kids young, and support and serve her husband, even though this puts her at risk for elder poverty later on. They do not believe in female bodily autonomy. They do not believe in marital rape, and they do not believe on a core value about consent, because women have no agency. Your virginity and your body belongs to your father until it is given to your husband later on. But they can't come out and say these things because they wouldn't get the vote. So we see this politically in different ways. No fault divorce, which they were very clear in Project 2025 they're going to get rid of. They can't come out and say they're going to get rid of it. Women would push back. So what do? They get rid of the resources that help women leave abusive husbands. SNAP benefits, Medicaid, Medicare, social services, even domestic violence shelters. Even in Oklahoma, they're getting rid of domestic violence shelters to put women in positions where they can't leave. Things like voting. They're not going to come out and say you can't vote. They're going to pass the SAVE Act, which means you have to get a passport they know most women don't have. She might not have access to resources to be able to buy it. It's a poll tax for married women to be able to vote. And even in the political spectrum, because they need women's free labor in order to push their agenda, they need women's votes, but they can't exclude women entirely. So they strategically place women like Caroline Leavitt, Kristi Noem, so that women think, oh, we're included in this movement. What those women are, they are the spoonful of sugar that helps a bitter medicine go down, that these people on a core level believe that you are less than men. They do not believe in women's equality. They do not believe in marital rape. They do not believe in consent, which is why they don't necessarily care about having abortion exceptions for rape and incest, because they still believe at a core level it's the woman's fault, it's a man's entitlement, and that a woman's body belongs to men. And remember that marriage counseling within the Christian community was founded by Paul Popenow, who was an atheist, a white supremacist, and a eugenicist. And the only people that were radical enough to latch onto his ideas were evangelical pastors. And he taught them to teach that white women should never marry out of their race. They should not get divorced for any reason, that birth control was evil and against God's will. And he mentored James Dobson, who is the father of Christian family counseling.
thought that when we get married, it's for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, to love, cherish, and obey. And look, even if your marriage is messed up, you know what? You made your bed, lay in it. If you're married to a drunk, sorry, you're married to a drunk. If you're married to a pothead, sorry, you married a pothead. Okay? And you know what? I'm not saying that your husband should slap you down, but if your husband slaps you down and you call the cops, you're evil. Period. You're the one who's evil. Oh, we're going to start hearing about all these horror stories coming out of the NIFB. If I heard a story about a husband who slapped his wife down and she called the cops on him, that is a horror story. What an evil broad.
Quick, show me in the vows where it says you're going to love, honor, cherish someone, and accept abuse as your own fault for choosing them. And no, obeying and honoring is not the same as accepting abuse and taking no legal recourse, despite what POS Pastor Stephen Anderson here of the Faithful Word Baptist Church would like you to believe. He is literally saying you're allowed to slap your wife down, and she is evil if she does anything about it. Imagine hearing the sermon, but then being shocked that women are leaving the church in droves and choosing not to get married. It's almost like a marriage certificate shouldn't be a license to hurting somebody. But let's be crystal clear. This is what they want on a governmental level when they talk about traditional family values. The value of a woman is nothing more than the property of her husband, and as property, he can do to you whatever he wants, and you have no legal recourse. That is what they want. And you know who's really listening to this message? It's the young men who are lonely. Because what they're hearing is, just get her to marry you. Then you can treat her however you want. And really, it's her fault for choosing you.
Husband slaps you down and you call the cops, you're evil. Period.
Person that you hear preaching is Pastor Stephen Anderson of Faithful Word Baptist Church in Tempe, Arizona. He is a figurehead of what's called the NIFB Church, which is kind of a branch off of the IFB Church, Independent Fundamental Baptist. They don't consider themselves a denomination. The IFB Church believes in once saved, always saved, creationism, women should wear skirts, they're extremely pro-life, very conservative. They believe in KJV only, meaning they don't see the other Bibles as like legitimate, like the NIV Bibles. They have had their own dramas, okay, a lot of them. But right now we're just going to talk about the NIFB. So Pastor Stephen Anderson essentially created the NIFB Church because he believed that the IFB Church was getting too liberal. He is openly anti-Semitic. His wife and him are Holocaust deniers. They burn NIV Bibles. Yes, burn them. They hate Catholics. They hate Jewish people. And he is known for coming out after the Pulse shooting and praising the shooters because, they're bigots. He said the only way to get rid of AIDS by Christmas is to execute homosexuals. Within the last year and a half, they have come under a huge controversy because their eldest daughter spoke up about the abuses that she faced by her parents, Zuzana, who's the mom, and Stephen, who's their father. She spoke about how her mom calls her ugly and says she'd never get married and degrades her at every opportunity and would basically beat the shit out of her children. Well, Pastor Tommy McMurtry of Liberty Baptist Church and his wife Cassandra basically came out and openly admonished what Pastor Stephen Anderson was doing. Now, many people that are still supporters of Pastor Stephen Anderson hate them, like a lot. There's so much more about this, but Pastor Stephen Anderson still has his church and still has a huge following, even though all of this came to light. And it wasn't just his eldest daughter who attests to the abuse. There was I think 3 of his other children did as well. Yes, that's the most recent controversy. But Pastor Stephen Anderson, yeah, he still has a following. He still has his church. People still support him to this day. And it has caused a really big separation between the IFB and NIFB because the IFB, even though they're still bigots and still, a little out there, they're like, well, we don't believe in, beating our children with electrical cords and our infants. Oh yeah, there is so much more information on this. They've had so many scandals with Pastor Donnie Romero and Leslie and the text message threads, and oh my God, there's so much. I know about them through Cassandra McMurtry's YouTube channel, Gently Led Sisters, where Zuzana used to be on it with her. I have basically watched every single one of Cassandra's lives. She's arguably a very good parent and really, really loves her children. And I've read all of Jejana Anderson's blog posts before she took them all down. Unfortunately, I've also listened to dozens of hours of Pastor Steven Anderson's preachings, who's banned in 31 countries, by the way, until they were basically scrubbed and banned off YouTube, and now he just posts his sermons on Rumble.
If your husband knocks your bottom cap loose and you call the cops, you're evil.
Husband slaps you down and you call the cops, you're evil. Period. You're the one who's evil. You know, if I heard a story about a husband who slapped his wife down and she called the cops on him, that is a horror story. What an evil broad.
That's what alleged pastor and certified monster Steven Anderson said. I mean, once you get to know Steven, this isn't at all surprising. At all. It begins to lose the shock factor, you know. This is the same man who publicly supports hate speech. And not just hate speech, I apologize. Extreme hate speech. The same man who called for violence against marginalized groups. That one. The same man that openly spreads toxic, dangerous doctrine from his pulpit. Obviously, the people in Stephen's congregation share the same mindset, but let me make this clear. Religion should not be a cover for abuse. Never.
The way some Christian wives are going through a lot in marriages, the way their husbands are treating them like trash, all in the name of religion, all in the name of they speak to God or God speaks to them, or they read the Bible or they trust God. The way women, Christian wives, some of Christian wives are going through a lot in marriages, it's alarming. This just a few months ago, we were seeing the kept wives or something, podcast wife, their podcast wife, these are pastors and their wives. And you see them openly embarrassing their wives, you see them openly doing things. They will confirm that they've been really, really treating their wives badly, and they will openly just come and say these are Christian wives. I feel like when it comes to relationship, the people you're supposed to look at their relationship and kind of be like, oh, I want to have a kind of relationship like this, as opposed to the ones that are Christian. If Christian relationship is like this, why would people want to get married? Why would people want to get, if your pastor relationship is like this, your pastor beat his wife and come on the pulpit to tell you guys that, tell the men that beat your wife and she called the cops on you, she's the evil one. Why should people want to get married? Why should people want to get married to Christian men? Or why would Christian women want to get married to Christian men? Because it's really annoying. And you see some Christian men will still use the act of religion or Bible to kind of justify their acts. I saw a story time of a woman talking about when she caught her husband cheating on her. Her husband is a pastor. He slept with a member in the church, and he still has the audacity to tell his wife that he slept with her and is the devil or something. It was the Holy Spirit. He went to her house to pray for her. You're a pastor. You have a woman that came to you and told you she has a spiritual issue or whatever issue she has, and you went to her house alone to pray for her. What are you expecting? What do you want? And all of a sudden, you just saw the way her shape was looking, and you fell, and you did that. He had the audacity to tell the wife and started bringing out some Bible verses and all of that. Why she should forgive and forget, why this is just like one of the things, and she should not take it to heart like that. These same people, if you as a Christian wife do something wrong to your Christian man or your pastor, they will disgrace you. In fact, they're going to call up the relationship and they will keep talking about it till thy kingdom come. But when they do their own, they will use Bible to back it up. They will use forgiveness to back it up, how you should be forgiven as a Christian wife. And they will use you to give an example of how, even after you've forgiven them, they will still use you as an example to tell people that, oh, I have actually hurt my wife so much during the years, But she was so dumb enough to forgive me and still stayed in the relationship. It's really annoying. That is why most women stay in an abusive relationship, because once you come out and tell people, oh, he slapped me, they'll be like, what did you do? Why? What did you do that warrant your husband to slap you? Your husband is a man of God. He's a pastor. When he speaks, it brings out fire in his mouth. So what did you do to warrant a man of God that God uses to heal the sick? What did you do to warrant him to slap you? People blame me as a woman. I don't blame women sometimes when they stay in that kind of relationship, because they don't even have words to run to. Because when they open their mouth to talk, people will blame them that they are the reason whereby why their husband is beating them, and they end up staying there till they die. Because why would you say that when a man slaps his wife down and she calls her, she's the evil one? Okay, let her be the evil one. So she should rather just stay there and be saying, yes, my lord, continue beating me, yes, my lord. Because what is she supposed to do? She should accept it because they are already married and that is it. Why is it that when a man marries a woman, that is when he starts beating her, or that is when he feel like he has owned her and he must beat her to correct her? According to them, they say they beat you for correction. Why do you have to beat your wife for correction? Why? Can you beat your fellow man for correction? No. They can't beat their friends for correction, but you as their wife, they'll beat you to correct you. They'll beat you because you're annoying them. They beat you because you talk back at them. They'll beat you because you disrespect them. They'll just beat you for no reason. Probably because they are drunk and they just see you and they are pissing them off. They beat you. But they will not use that same energy to beat somebody outside that pisses them off. They can't fight. Okay? The only time they show their muscle is on their wives. You guys, what's your take on this video? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Respectfully, as always, Sugar Mary David, and thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like and share and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.